while we were doing the tech loop, Dave was just filming in slow-mo. And we're still at the den. The sun is starting to pop up over the eastern horizon. The adults have moved off, so we might not be able to stay here too long. And I think the cubs are going to go to ground shortly. But we will have to wait and see. I'm hoping they come for another adventure close to us before they decide to go to bed. Aren't they cute? Hello, Trouble. Has your mom disappeared, or has she just gone a little bit further away? Ah, no, they're not too far away. I think I can hear them chewing on one of the carcasses. Hello, you. You coming to say hello? One of Pretty's little ones. What you doing? Oh, you're so funny looking. Funny looking. Funny looking. Not quite as confident as Corky's yet. But when I've been here in the dark during rehearsals, they come right up to the vehicle, just like Corky's little ones do. So hopefully they come back for another visit close to us. Oh, here we go. We're going to be charging around. Come visit us. Come back here. Oh, they're playing now. See, the little one's very interested in what the adults are doing behind us, and I can just hear the odd crunch, crunch. Kristen says they are getting so big. Indeed they are. Oof! Doesn't want to play, Corky's little one. It's pretty much ignoring. And you see, it's very tentative playing from Pretty's. They only get too rough in case Corky's little one starts to complain, and that might bring Corky charging in. Oh dear, as our little hyena rocket disappears into the den, we're probably going to spend a little more time here in case they come out again. But let's send you across to Steve in the Mara, who I think is also spending time with hyenas.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mara Triangle up in Kenya. We ourselves have found a spotted hyena having a bit of a drink from one of the drainage culverts that has accumulated some rainfall. And no doubt this hyena has been out on the prowl all night, and now will probably slowly be heading back to some form of den site or rest area. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve. I'm joined on camera once again by Manu, and we're out in the African wilderness. And please feel free to send through your questions, comments, hashtag SafariLive, or drop them on the YouTube chat stream. Don't forget the all-important @FC, and keep questions relevant, and you will get your name and question answered. It is a beautiful 17 degrees Celsius up here this morning, and she is a fat little girl. 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm heading directly in the direction of the North Clan Den. I have some giraffe up ahead that are having a little bit of a look-see. I think they're spotted. See how it's spotted that hyena now? The body language has changed. They're always looking for things that are lurking around on the ground, and well, the giraffe have got the best eyesight out here with that long neck, probably equivalent eyesight to baboons. But having that long neck means they don't have to climb a tree to be able to have the same vantage. Beautiful, beautiful morning. How is everybody doing on this wonderful Monday? Hope you all had an amazing weekend. Very good. Our search this morning, we're going to be checking along the river road this morning. Maybe go pop past Waffles' den along the way and see what else we might find. Who knows? We might do a spot of birding this morning. It is a Monday, and a lot of you might remember what that means. To have a tree in mind. Unfortunately, we won't be doing any teas and decoctions this morning, as I don't have all of my tools, all of my trade. But there is a beautiful tree that I have not spoken about, and it is one of the most common trees that are found up in the Mara Triangle. Just to give you a brief idea, there is a couple of them right there in shot. That's a beautiful one. Beautiful shepherd's tree. Shepherd's trees occur throughout the African continent, and the genus name is called Boschia. Boschia actually meaning shepherd in Latin, and albi trunca due to the very white stems that they have. And a beautiful, beautiful shade tree. You can see how it's been manicured by the giraffe to keep its shape. They get very old. They take a very long time to grow, a very good root system, and across the African continent they are the tree of choice for shade, especially out in these open landscapes. High flush, the Mara is absolutely spectacular, and here we are about to witness the rising of the sun. Beautiful clouds on the horizon. Give it that lovely orange wash. I think the sun is approaching. It might be a few minutes out still. So your question broke up there, Megs. Did you copy that, Manu?
Any sausage trees in bloom?
Any sausage trees in bloom, Laurie? Well, before I went away, there were definitely some sausage trees flowering. And I saw one a couple of days ago that actually had some fruit. It was in the distance, though. I wasn't able to get to it. But yes, we'll look out to see if we can find one. A sausage tree in flower is one of the best trees to do some birding in, because it attracts a plethora of bird species and insect species in there to pollinate. And beautiful long red flowers that are dribbling nectar. Well, I think we've got a few more moments until the sun rises, so we're going to keep moving on. But isn't that a beautiful picture? Indeed. Open landscapes. It's still early up here. We haven't even seen a balloon yet, which is quite surprising. I think maybe they only launch around sunrise, or maybe they're having a Monday off. Well, Brent has found hyena. We have our own hyena that's moved off. And let's go down to Sydney in Juma, who is bumbling around.
A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the safari. I am Sydney from Niconico, and I am traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this morning. I am now looking for the spotted cats, and I'm trying to look again for Hosanna this morning. For in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So it's very much quiet. I went to the area where I left Hosanna last night, and he's somewhere hiding in this area. As yesterday when I left, he was beginning to do some hunting. I left him after the scrub here, and now he is not there. It might be difficult a little bit for us to find him this morning, as he was doing his hunting when we were not there. So I'm just checking everywhere at the moment, and I have not yet picked up any fresh track. But I don't think he's going to travel a long distance. So he might be somewhere in the same area. Or maybe he has been successful. His stomach was full last night, but he was not worried about hunting activities. So here I can see there's some duikers here. When there's duiker and other animals Ivy Hosanna is now becoming my favorite leopard. But my favorite leopard is Tingana. But I can see that Hosanna is now taking away all that interest. So I am hoping to see him this morning again. So I will just go around now to try and see if his tracks are not coming out to the road. So I think this is a very good weather for this leopard to go up and down. It's nice and cold at the moment. So there's no tracks of him coming back to the Galago pen, as he was here last night and he had too much water from here. So I am now going to go around the Galago shortcut. Maybe somewhere there we might be lucky and see his tracks. Catherine, Tandy and Talamba has not been spotted again so far. I just want to hear there's some squirrels making some noise here in this area. So I think it's very important for me to go and check. But now it's quiet. I know the squirrels, sometimes they give me good signals. I'm going to check there. Yeah, but there are no tracks at all coming. Tandy and Talamba, I haven't heard anything about them for the past few days. But the last time they were spotted, it was around the private property. Maybe that is why it's not easy for us to see them. They might be still in the same area, or if not in the same area, they must be now heading back to our side. So Talamba, I saw her last time, it was about a few days ago by the Torchwood area, the day she was feeding on an impala. So I just heard the francolins. We're also making noise here at the moment after the squirrels. So I'm going to make a turn here and go back to the pen. Maybe there's an animal going down to the pen in the middle of the bushes here. So if it's Hosanna, it means he left that area last night. So the challenge is Hosanna has not yet started sowing in this area. So sowing helps us in order to hear where these animals are sometimes. I am not seeing anything from this side where I am, but this is the area where the noise was coming from. So from the drier area of the western side of Kruger to the greener pasture of the Masai Mara.
Indeed, not so dry at all. It's raining all the time these days. We are in the small rains that they call up here in the Mara. And we have a couple of giraffe that are thoroughly enjoying some small shrubs dotted across the plains here. You see that neck, able to stretch it all the way down. But what's very interesting about a giraffe, in fact, is that it requires all of the strength in its neck to pull its neck that far down, and as soon as it lets go of the muscle, there's a ligament that runs all the way from the back of the head all the way down the back of the giraffe. So as soon as it releases the muscles, the neck just snaps back up to that sort of 60-degree angle, requiring no effort to hold the head up, requiring effort only to pull it down. That's quite an interesting adaptation for the giraffe. We've seen them drinking, and they move in close to a watering hole. They go all the way down, and then when they release the pressure of the muscles, the head just flicks all the way back up again. Because for a giraffe to have its head below its heart requires, well, there's an enormous amount of pressure that potentially would be going down into the giraffe's head. There we go. You see it's feeding on what looks like a very small shepherd's tree, the stem being very white, and a favorite forage for many an animal out in the landscape. Even goats and cattle will feed on it. We can eat them to an extent. Two female giraffe there converging on the same very tasty shepherd's tree. Nope, changed her mind. She wants to eat one that's much lower on the ground. So you can just see by that height and angle of the giraffe's neck and head, there's just no competition for a giraffe. They can feed all the way down and then obviously all the way up as well. Moving between wooded areas and these sort of sparsely vegetated open landscapes that are kept in check, no doubt, by fire. Grass grows to a very tall height around here due to the nutrients in the soil, and it's very difficult for the trees to escape that fire trap. Hello, Kristen. There's no real breeding time for giraffe. Giraffe tend to have a peak, sort of, as far as South Africa is concerned, sort of a peak just in the summer months when the vegetation's good for the adults. Up here, there's two rainy seasons, so I suppose the giraffe could peak at either one of those two rainy seasons, but they can actually have their calves any time, really, throughout the year. There's no specific time period, but as with most animals, most herbivore animals, they tend to try and have their babies when conditions are good so that the mothers can get enough nutrients to provide the milk for their youngsters. That's a gestation period of about 15 months, 14 to 15 months, producing a baby that weighs over 200 pounds at birth. Can you imagine? That's because it's got to stand up and walk and run pretty much from the day it's born. Out in landscapes like this one, you need to be able to run if you want to survive. Mum, being tall, can spot the predators, but, well, if you get selected as a youngster, you need to be able to get out of there. And you see how that head lifted very quickly as that giraffe on the right there sort of let go of the muscle. And it just sprung right back up to that 60-odd degree angle. Hello, Lindsay. That's a very good question. Possibly the height of the giraffe and the balance that's required for them to sort of maintain an even keel means that they move with both legs either side at one time. I suppose it's got to do with the balance. They walk just like camels, and it's why their genus name is actually camel. There's a camel in the name, Camelopardus, basically camel horse. Because, well, if you saw a giraffe for the first time, you'd probably go with a camel and somewhere along the line add horse in there as well. Very unique looking individual. But I think most of it's got to do with just their height that they need to sort of move both legs at the same time. One might kick the other if they didn't move them at the same time because of the length that they are, and the balance of the neck needs to sort of keep them on an even keel. So they're kind of swaying left and right as they move. And you can see how the necks are held at that exact level, requiring absolutely no effort. It's all a ligament, a very powerful ligament down the back of the neck. Because can you imagine trying to hold your neck at that height all day long? That would be very, very difficult, wouldn't it? Talk about lower back pain. It's almost just rocking there. Beautiful, beautiful ladies these are. A Maasai giraffe. Different to those down in South Africa, but probably the most similar looking to the South Africa giraffe compared to the other 7 or 8 subspecies. Now, she looks a little bit rounded in the belly. It's possible that she is somewhere within her pregnancy stage, but not near. There we go. There we're using the strength of the muscles all the way down again. And those lips, prehensile tongue, and lips able to just pluck and grab whatever leaves that they need. Hello, Karen. Well, giraffe really don't have any sort of social structure that is too sort of strict. A young giraffe will stay with mum for a very, very long time, in fact. The only time really a giraffe might move away from the family would be if it was a male in search of females, but giraffe have got very loose sort of family groups, very loose aggregations. They just come and go, really. So when you find an adult like this, often the youngster will just stay with them for a very, very long time. I don't think there's any sort of set hard and fast rule like we find with many of the other animals that at a certain age they get pushed away due to competition. They just sort of hang out and they follow. Surprising that there are no youngsters with this family group or this breeding group of females. But we find sometimes very large groups of giraffe up here. I think when I was here in February, Archie and I had about 70 odd giraffe in the same sort of area. Youngsters, all sorts of ages with adults. But these are all very similar sort of age, these ladies. Getting in their breakfast. Hello, Minamu. A good question. I mean, a giraffe is a ruminant, so most ruminant animals don't actually close their eyes, as far as I'm aware. When they ruminate, they sit down, they chew the cud. We've all seen that motion of the animal regurgitating and rechewing the cud. And by doing that, what they're actually doing is they're in an automatic autopilot sort of stage, and the brain capacity is lowered to that of a sleeping animal. So if you've seen a goat or a cow or anything like that that's sort of sitting, ruminating, staring off into the distance, they've got this sort of 1,000-mile stare as they stare off this sort of 1,000-mile sort of stare, staring straight through you. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're not actually sleeping, but their brain is completely switched off. But their eyes are open, their ears are alert, and if any sort of alarm call goes on, immediately they respond. So giraffe only essentially sit down for about maybe 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes in total. The rest of that time is spent on their feet. They'll even stand with their back to the sun and just stand there and ruminate. And while ruminating, their brain capacity is completely lowered to a meditative state, and that gives them the adequate rest that they require. That's the same. Here comes a boy. Not a fully grown boy. You can see by the difference in the size of what we call the ossicones on the top of the head. Those of you who are new to the show, giraffe have got ossicones, not horns. They're actually born with those sort of protrusions on the top of the head, but obviously to come out of the birth canal, those are sort of plastered flat on the head. And as the animal gets older, they ossify, and then they fuse to the skull. And the male's ossicones are much bigger than the females. And it always begs the question, why do females have them at all? And the male's heads are used as a power battering ram, and they get ossifications on their forehead and their head gets heavier and heavier, and they use that long neck to swing a huge hammer, which often can knock out an opponent. I've even seen a giraffe kill another giraffe before with that long swinging neck. And obviously it's all for the competition and the rights to these beautiful ladies. Because whenever giraffe do fight, you'll find the ladies watching very closely. Hello, Bob. That's a great question. The reason why hyenas have got the shape they've got, that sort of angle, is to enable them to have more power in the front, and they're able to run sort of a long galloping sort of run, a marathon runner, similar to wildebeest, topi, hartebeest, all got that same similar sort of position or posture. So I'm going to assume that the giraffe's got a similar sort of shape as well, with legs at the back being a bit shorter than legs at the front, to enable them to sort of run and cover distance with relative ease. A lot of it's got to do with running and movement. The hyena, though, has benefited in that they've got that angle and enables them to pick up carcasses and also to carry them while running at pretty much full speed. So that's kind of that angle that the hyena's working for, but it also enables them to run very, very well. Wild dog, though, they run very well, and they've got more of a square sort of shape, back and front legs being very similar at the hips and the shoulders. Whereas giraffe, if you've seen them galloping, it's almost absolute. They're almost in slow motion. Their front legs, their back legs come behind, but sort of that difference in the height enables them to run very, very far, very easily without too much effort on the body. So I'm thinking that is why. But seems like Brent has left his hyenas. Let's go back down to South Africa and see what his plans are.
Well, yes, the adults moved off so that the cuteness of the cubs went underground, but we did hear a leopard calling just before we left the den, and it was somewhere in this area. And then Rexon, who's on walk with Jamie and the trainees, doing a training walk, said he heard alarm calls from this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to move up towards the next junction. We're going to switch off and we're going to listen, and if it is Tengana, he should be making lots of noise if he is not on a kill. Apparently, you guys have heard it on the dam cam. That's quite impressive because we're really far from the dam cam. I think he likes this area. We're just to the east of Treehouse Dam. I think next spot to sit and listen was just up ahead here. We heard 2 calls while we're still quite far away, and now we're going to switch off and sit right here at this road junction. I haven't seen any tracks yet, to see if we can either get the sound of alarm calls or the rasping roar of a leopard. Lots of birds making noise. Mostly Franklins. Is that monkeys? I'm just going to take my earpiece out for a second so I can listen properly. It sounds like monkey alarm calls up towards Treehouse Dam. Let's go have a look. Now, if you ever do go on safari and you want to listen properly, remember the ear trick. Be a kudu. Be the kudu. Maybe my leopard luck's going to change. Yesterday it was absolutely horrific. Now, monkeys can often see leopards from very far away. They can even look at them from couple of 100 meters while they're sitting on the top of the tree. So if you have heard monkey alarm calls, you actually need to start looking from 800-900 meters away quite carefully, because they could be staring into the distance and shouting at something. So apparently there's a lot of comments on my pink scarf today. Well, fortunately, I'm quite comfortable in myself, and I quite like pink. I think it looks lovely. And it's warm. I've been well known for wearing, in my younger days, some relatively outrageous clothing choices. And one of my favorites that I wore for many years was a pair of pink Kikoya hot pants. It was my sort of standard walk around town outfit. I also had, oh yes, I don't like long shorts, very irritating. Jared's buddy would like to know, when do I think Hosanna will start sawing? I don't know, to be honest. Not for a while. To be really honest, I don't think he's going to saw until he's moved out of this area and feels comfortable enough to take on another male. Now we just zoom in there for me. Up a little bit. Up a little bit more, and no, I thought I saw a monkey up in one of those trees. I saw a bit of movement. Could have been a bird though. Franklins, keep quiet. I'm trying to listen for other things. Yeah, a few more bird species calling here. Oh, I can hear a black cuckoo down near the Mawati. I'm so sad. A favorite area of Tingana. These two little river systems above Treehouse. Cool Breeze says, I like all of the sounds that we can hear. They are, mornings like this, the sounds are amazing. So I'm going to keep completely silent and still and let you just enjoy the dawn chorus for a few seconds. Hyena, but no leopard. But I'm going to sit here quietly and keep listening, and hopefully Mr. Tingana decides to soar or get spotted by an antelope. In the meantime, tomorrow.
Well, good luck, Brent. Monkeys are one of the most reliable indicators of a predator. And I wonder if those of you out there joining us this morning are able to identify this beautiful bird that I've got here. And it's quite confusing because all the South African examples of this species don't show those bars on the chest. It's only up here in the Mara that I've seen the species with those bars on the chest, and that can quite often confuse a few of you. So please send your request or comment to hashtag SafariLive. Drop it on the YouTube chat stream. And a beautiful yellow eye, the brown upper body, and then you can see the beak is quite a big puffy head. Can't see the feet now, but the beak is not a very strong beak. Well, it's easily confused with another raptor. It's possible. Ooh, Sharon, you think an owl eagle is not an owl eagle? No, but it does have eagle in the name. It does indeed have eagle in the name. And they're very common up here, very common down in South Africa as well. And their habitat goes all the way from semi-desert all the way through to desert and forest edges and the savanna. See, Dr. Hyena, you have made the mistake that I was talking about there. Very easily confused with the martial eagle. It's not a martial eagle, and that is why you need to look at the eye, the puffy head, and the fact that the beak is not very, very well developed. So it's easily confused with the martial eagle. Even if you go into the birding app and you click similar birds, you will get martial eagle on a similar sort of footing to this bird. But it is not the martial eagle. Nice puffy head, upright standing posture. Lauren, you have got it 100% correct. It is indeed a black-chested snake eagle, and I will show you now on my beautiful birding app here why people get it confused. Let me just get the two birds for you here. Let me actually just quickly give that a wipe, because it's amazing how these... Okay, well, it seems like we're going to quickly go back down to Juma with Brent.
So we've just seen a leopard, and by its behavior, it is acting very nervous. I'm not sure who it is. It's just the first glimpse we've seen of it. Is it Tingana? But it's looking very nervous, like something's chasing him. There could be another male leopard here. You guys, with the benefit of the camera, is that Tingana? It looks a bit like Tingana. But he's acting very strange, very nervous, if it is Tingana. And looking back, I think I know what's happened. I think the bushwalk guys are here, and Tingana doesn't like people on foot. Let me just double check. Rex, are you guys near a treehouse? Yeah, I think it's Tingana. I think he just doesn't like you guys on foot. Thanks so much, Rexy. So I actually now think it is Tingana, and I thought there might be something going on, but the bushwalk team have been helping us try to find him. He spotted them at the same time. Yeah, Lex, if you come to Treehouse Dam, we're just to the south of the dam itself. He's mobile west in the block. It is Tingana. There we go. Where were you hiding last night, you silly fool of a leopard? Ava. Hello, big boy. Where have you been hiding? Looking quite well fed. I'm sure you've been hiding on an Inyala carcass somewhere. So, yeah, you should look sheepish after avoiding me yesterday during a TV show. You should be embarrassed, ashamed of yourself. So, Bob says Captain G-Lap. So I was quite convinced he was in this area. That when we had tracks off Zoe's yesterday, the last tracks were coming towards here. This is the only water around, and it is Mr. T. He's watching the bushwalk team, I think, now disappear. Let's see if we can spot them. I think they've gone a bit far now. But he's heading back down. He might go for a drink now. So you saw that. I mean, I was almost convinced it was a different leopard from the behavior. And you can see now why Tingana is such a difficult cat to track on foot, because he slinks away at quite high speed when he comes across people on foot. And he's always done that. It's sort of the Tingana modus operandi. But if you find him in the vehicle, he couldn't give two hoots. Okay, let's find a way to stick with him. Let's go around this thicket. MGN, he looks a bit chubby. I'm sure he's chubby. As I say, I'm convinced he's been sitting on a, or even two, like Asana in Nyala or Kudu or Bushbuck, that have died from this very dry season. Well, 3 very dry seasons in a row that we've been having. Go, Mr. T. I thought it was him with all the sawing a bit earlier. Anisha is wondering, why do male leopards have more hanging skin on their dewlap than females? 2 important reasons, and both are to do with dominance and fighting. So if they do get into a fight, there's a bit more protection around the vulnerable area of the throat. But also, like lions, which it's a very similar reason for lions, is that the bigger the dewlap, the more intimidating you look, and you can actually avoid a physical confrontation. He keeps watching the bushwalk, or the trainees, and Rexon and Jamie. You can have a look down there. There they go. See them? There they go. Okay. Okay, well, I keep up with Tingana through these thickets. It seems like Steve is partaking in one of my most favorite pastimes this morning in the Mara, birding.
I hope you managed to find the Duke. He is a tricky one on foot. Well, we had a brief visual of a shrike there that has now disappeared, but I'll go back to my discussion on the birds. There we go. I wonder if any of you have seen one of them before. I think it is the northern white, but I'm just going to double check. Just a white crowned shrike down South Africa. I need to double check it though. But we're going to talk about, just to confirm, so you all get a clear idea of why the martial eagle and the brown or the black-chested snake eagle, who was who and why. And I've just got my phone out here, and hopefully the reflection is not going to be too bad. It was perfect where we were before. Let me just try and get my head out of the way. Black-chested eagle. In the South African photographs, there's no spots at all on the chest or the body, but you can see the yellow eye. Both actually have a yellow eye, but the beak, compare the 2 beaks. The beak on the left is very small and sort of curved, whereas the beak on the right is a formidable beak, and the characteristic spots on the chest of the martial eagle, and that very beautiful crest, almost like he's wearing a crown. On the one on the right, much bigger build, much bigger bird. You see he's stocky, he's got big shoulders, whereas snake eagles stand quite sort of tall and narrow with a sort of straight up sort of back. MGN, beautiful birds, both of them are beautiful, and as you can see, it's very easy to confuse the two, but the martial eagle being far bigger. Both part of the eagle family, the snake eagle not being a true eagle due to the fact that it does not have feathers all the way down its feet. Can you see that just over here? Very narrow legs, and both, or all of the snake eagles don't have feathers on the legs. They've got reinforced sort of, we could almost say leather thongs down the legs to protect them from snakes, because if you have feathers on the surface of the skin, then you're going to have a blood circulatory system, and well, if you are tackling snakes by nature, then there's a good chance you're going to get bitten. So that is, all the snake eagles have no feathers on the leg, and very reinforced, thick sort of what's the word, padding leather sort of things along their legs. Oh, very good. On we go. Olaramua, I don't think they would interbreed. I think the marsh would eat the black-chested. If anything, in the bird spectrum, the larger the raptor or the larger the predator, the more chance it's got of eating the smaller one. There's huge competition between these individuals. Huge competition. Just like in the predator kingdom with regards to the mammal predators, they all will attack each other and kill each other if they can. And the martial eagle being one of the most formidable of all of the aerial predators we have. So definitely need to be careful. I mean, they can take small antelope, martial eagles. Small antelope, monitor lizards, most certainly large birds. Guinea fowl, one of their favorites. And if they were in the same area as the black-chested snake eagle, they'd most certainly chase them away. The smaller of the two being probably a little bit more agile and able to get away from the martial eagle. But when the martial eagle's in the sky, everything is trembling in their boots, because they are formidable predators. And those talons, if you have a look close at them, they are enormous. Enormous. Designed for just destroying one's spinal column. Yep. And being a vertebrate, we are quite dependent on our spinal column to survive. Well, we're still moving through this landscape here, seeing what we can find. I'm looking to find a beautiful shepherd's tree for you, but in the meantime, let's go see how Brent is getting along with his relocation of the Duke.
Yes, he's looking like he's on a good old territorial patrol, heading through some of his favorite areas. Yeah, he's going to come out onto the road shortly, so we're going to zoot around in front of him. Oh, and he's changed his mind. He smelt something. That's brought him back a little bit. What you smell, Tingy? Now, this is an area where Shidulu does come in from time to time. And there's some cloud cover sneaking in, so it could keep cool for a little bit longer, although Tingana is not adverse to marching around in the heat of the day. Let's just jump in front of him there, Darby, as he heads towards the road. Rosemary says he's such an elusive boy. Well, not normally. What's quite nice about Tingana is he's very, very vocal as a male leopard, which makes him quite easy to find from the vehicle rather than on foot. We saw how he reacted on foot to the bushwalk team. So we have another vehicle with us in the sighting, so I'm just going to pull over so they can also see the Duke of Djuma. Where are you off to, mister? He's going into a particularly thick area, and earlier I was saying this is a favorite area of his, these little river systems just to the west of Treehouse Dam. There we go. I think he's going to pop down into these thickets. Cool Breeze is asking how many sons and daughters does Tingana have. I have absolutely no idea. Now, again, a lot of people, and us included, are very quick to sort of claim that Hosanna is definitely Tingana's son. I mean, they might look similar, but unless you do genetic tests, you cannot say for certain, because female leopards will mate with multiple males when they're in estrus. So it is almost impossible to say for sure who the daddy is. Well, he's being kind to us. He's not going to go into those thickets. He's going to go onto the road again and continue his patrol. Here we go. Pop around the corner, so we're going to have to drive. Wow. Yes, I could have used him last night. I couldn't we have, Darby? I haven't forgotten, but I do have something very cool to show you a little bit later. And it was our oh, you might saw. Are you going to give us a saw? Not this time. Isn't that pretty? Surveying the little river system. Well, I said, I've got a surprise for you. But can you... Rose is asking, are leopards the most aggressive of the big cats? Rose, no. I mean, it's such an open-ended question that, I mean, they can all be aggressive when time needs to be, when they're defending themselves against other leopards or other predators. But as a general rule, most animals will try avoid physical confrontation if they can. And the chance of getting wounded is great. So, I mean, lions probably, you'd have to say, are the most aggressive. They fight the most, especially over carcasses and mating rights a lot more than the other big cats. But again, it's not aggressive as the human description of aggressive. It's their nature. It's what they've evolved to do. Might go up that termite mound there. To get a nice high point to view what's about. There we go. He wasn't listening to the script yesterday, but he's listening to the script today, that's for sure. He might plonk himself down there for a bit. Take a bit of a breather. Okay, let's get in there. Okay, well, I try and get ourselves into a good position next to the Duke. And let's send you across to Sydney, who's got some big bovines.
I have got both the buffaloes and Hosanna coming at the back. You can see now they're looking. They're looking at Hosanna right there. He is right behind them. So Hosanna wants to take a chance here. He's hiding behind a stem. You can see that stem there where there is some elephant dung. He's right there. He is looking at the buffaloes. One buffalo is trying to look at Hosanna at the moment. You can see there. This is a lovely sighting. So both Hosanna and the buffaloes just got to the waterhole at the same time. So I was tracking down Hosanna. Buffaloes, I've never seen their sign. I was surprised to meet them here. So you can see that buffalo couldn't manage to see Hosanna. So these are the Dhaka boys. The Dhaka boys are those buffaloes, mostly you'll see them, they are solitary and they are always full of mud. These buffaloes are looking very healthy. The condition of the field at the moment is very much dry, but looking at the body condition of the buffaloes, it's difficult to tell if the grass is nutritious or not. You can see that those ox pickers, they are irritating them a lot. They are helping them and irritating them at the same time. Look at that. You can see the leopard is just there behind the buffalo, both at the same time. Good camera work, Senzo. Thank you. So I haven't seen the buffaloes for a while. So these are the animals who are attracting mostly the big predators such as the lions to come much more towards the Juma Game Reserve a lot. They don't have a special preference. They are just walking and feeding anywhere and everywhere around the reserves. You can see they are drinking and listening at the same time. When one is drinking, another one is listening. Yeah, JW, he is feeling like that. You can see the hoofs there. So these hoofs you are seeing there is what makes the buffaloes to become part of the ungulates. So the ungulates are hoofed mammals, animals. Look at that. You can see the toes there now. So it's just that it's difficult to see underneath this keratin. So the hoofs are just consisted of the keratin. So it looks like one of these buffaloes, the one who is, yes, you can see underneath there, that is what we see on the ground, which looks more on the ground like a kidney shape or a bean shape. There's quite a lot of birds now. They are just seated now, not doing their job, these birds. Now I think it's about having a lift. So the buffaloes are not territorial. So he's just now urinating there. And you will see the other male, if interested, might go there and sniff the urine, which is now excreted by that one, and do the flamen. That is when they are checking each other's status. They don't only sniff the urine of the female, also the male they sniff. Look at that. You can see what I've just indicated now, that he was.
What do you think of that as well?
A very, very good morning and welcome to this spectacular sighting. I have got Hosanna here, one of the male leopard with the buffaloes now. Buffaloes trying to approach Hosanna. I can see he's now hiding behind the stem. Look at that. He's running away. The buffalo is chasing Hosanna at the moment. Hosanna is going very fast now, trying to run away from this very big animal coming. You can see that the leopards, they know that the buffaloes are not of their size. So I want to quickly follow them and see what is going to happen now. I can see that the leopard is now running away from these very big animals who were just chasing him. That was so funny. It was interesting seeing that. So I'm just going to go around now and see what is going to happen. Because Hosanna, he did not get water to drink this morning. He was chased by these very big buffaloes. The darker boys, they can be very much dangerous. So he's right here now. He's looking at them. They are now moving away. He's just lying down here. I think these buffaloes are too big for him. He was just taking a chance. But I didn't see any sign of him attempting to chase them. He was just lying down there for them to pass. And unfortunately, they managed to pick up his presence and decided to come running towards him. So you can see how he's breathing, that he got a fright. So I am live from the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park, Juma Game Reserve. This is all happening by the Juma Pen. Trish, he will have water after the big buffaloes. For now, he cannot go there, but I can see that those buffaloes are now disappearing, and they are not even worried. They are not even looking at him at all. They saw him and they know that he is still very young. He cannot stand them. So this brings us to the end of the very special broadcast, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. So now, from the little chief to Tingana.
Well, he's still sitting on top of his termite mound. There's some impala alarm calling to the west of us, and it might be Shidulu. He is listening to that area. Doesn't look too concerned. Interesting to see where he goes. He's definitely alert and awake this morning. Lex is wondering why hasn't Tingana chased Hosana away if he's supposed to be future competition. Well, that's the imperative, or the main word there is future. He's not competition yet. Tingana is much bigger, much stronger, so Hosana isn't competition yet, and that's why he hasn't been chased away. But he's still listening to those alarm calls to the west. They're quite faint, quite far off. Just listening carefully. Looking off into the distance, Mr. Tingana. Oh, he is quite old, but he is still looking in magnificent condition. Lola is asking, are leopards only social animals, or do they sometimes have prides like lions? You will sometimes see a few leopards together, but they never have a pride like lions. They are, for the most part, completely solitary. Isn't that beautiful? Lovely sounds as well down here on the edge of one of Tingi's favourite little rivers. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely stunning? Still listening to the west. Rachel says, Tingana takes my breath away every time I see him. He is a spectacular specimen, isn't he? He's got a few, maybe a few more years at the top. Not too many though, unfortunately. But that is the nature of the beast out here. He needs to be replaced by a younger, better model, and he will live on through his genetic code that he has passed on to who knows how many leopard cubs in the Sabi Sands. Probably a few more cubs still to be born. absolutely stunning. I think he's going to get moving again, so I'm definitely going to... We're just going to sit here. Oh, sorry. Caroline's wondering how far are the two leopards from each other. Hosanna is at Gallagher, so probably good 2.5+ kilometers. Not too far, definitely a distance that Tingana could walk quite easily and quite quickly, but at the moment a fair distance away. Very peaceful here in the riverbed this morning. Well, we're on the edge. As I say, hoping he is going to keep moving. A nice cool morning, so it's very possible. Well, he's looking a little bit lazier than he was. Not quite as attent, but those eyes are still very much open. Still very much scanning. Oh, lovely bird calls this morning. I think he is going to move. I think if I had to predict where he's going to go, he will eventually end up, I think, heading towards the area where Hosanna is. It's sort of his normal route. And speaking of the little prince, it seems like he wants to have a drink.
So now Hosanna is just about to get to the waterhole where he was denied earlier on a little bit by the two big Dagger Boy buffaloes. So it is his turn now for him to have a drink. So these animals are sharing the same waterhole, both predators and prey animals, including the prey that are preferred by Hosanna, which are between 15 and 25 kilograms to 40-something kilograms, are also coming to drink here. So you can see that but the weather this morning is not that bad. After drinking, I'm sure the water's going to stay much in the body. When it's hot, that is when too much water is needed. So he's now trying to look at the squirrel, which is making noise. Carol, he's going to start sowing when he is matured. Those kind of calls sometimes can be very much provocative to the territorial males. So that is why this kind of cats, for them to start doing that, they must have to be strong enough in order to challenge the other males. So nature is so very interesting. Everything is balanced. So the independence also helps him a lot, equips him a lot for survival. It's always very nice seeing these cats drinking water because it doesn't happen very quickly. It takes time until they finish. Always a good sighting by the open spaces such as the Galagopan. He is nice and clear at the moment. So all the grasses around here, they are finished because the big herds of animals are coming to drink, and after drinking some, they eat the grasses around here. But apart from that, trampling on the grasses and some other small trees by these animals also kills the vegetation. Yeah, indeed, it looks very much soft. Look at that. So you can hear the squirrel making that kind of a noise. Look at this whiskers there. So he's trying to sniff there. Maybe a prey animal was there or another predator was there. So he's trying to get the information. Look at those whiskers. We can see them nice and clear on top of the eyes and also by the side of the mouth. Some of these animals do have whiskers here on the side of their jaws. So this is cute. So you can see that he is trying to investigate something. So the squirrels are now starting to support each other. I can hear 3 different squirrels. The sound you are hearing, such as that is coming from the squirrel. So the squirrels is the ones that are every time exposing this secretive animal. With the squirrel, his secret doesn't work. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara and see what's happening now.
And welcome back to the Mara. Welcome back to the Mara. And I've gotten off the vehicle, folks. It looks like it's pretty safe, but the purpose of it is to get off for this beautiful tree. Have you hugged a tree today? Beautiful Boskia albitronca. Can you see how white the stems are, in fact? And it's almost got fluted shape, similar to that of the jackalberry. As they get older, gets a sort of fluted sort of shape. But these trees, they grow for a very, very long time. They've been in the landscape for probably 100 years, maybe 200 years. It's really hard to age them. To age them, you have to cut them down and count the rings. We're not going to do that, but look at this beautiful specimen. Absolutely gorgeous. Manu's going to try and show you a few of the leaves. The leaves are quite tough and leathery in a way, but they're quite juicy and succulent at the same time. And normally when you come and investigate under a tree like this, you'll find all sorts of dung droppings. There's elephant droppings here, lots and lots of wood. So these provide an enormous amount of shade in the African landscape, and hence why they are called the shepherd tree. Now, not only is the tree good for shade, but the bark itself is actually, you can grind it down, you can make all sorts of beer out of the bark, you can make porridge out of the bark. But what's very, very important is if you had to dig up the roots, you take the bark off of the roots and you pound that down, that ferments into a very, very nice beer. So not only were the shepherds sitting under here watching their flocks, they were having a little bit of a party at the same time. The leaves, as I've said before, are quite edible by most livestock, by most animals out in the landscape. And the flowers themselves, actually, you can grab them and you can pickle them to make capers. Those of you who like a little bit of a salty caper on your pizza, that is the way to go. And the fruits as well are very, very edible and very nutritious with a nice element of vitamin C. So the shepherd tree, very common on the African landscape. We don't find any of them in Djuma, but up here they're all over the place. All other sorts of places in the savanna biome I have found them as well, and I've been wanting to talk about them for months, and we finally got ourselves a specimen. So I have obviously been off my comms for a few seconds there. I don't have the same handheld radio we have down in the south, and there I am back. James, did you ask, are any of the tree species stinking? Is it fruiting? Oh, well, James, we'll have a look for some fruits. I haven't found any fruits today, but the last couple of days I saw some sausage trees were busy fruiting. But we'll keep our eyes open. We'll keep our eyes open. And the problem is, though, is we find some of these trees and I don't know what they are. The identification. But I will grab samples and show you. I know something I grabbed the other day I wanted to show everybody, and it's kind of, here we go, talking about fruiting. I spoke about the poison apple. Yeah, not the poison apple. What was it again? The solanum. Not a poison apple. It is a poison apple. I'm losing my mind. But here is the fruit. It looks like a little cherry tomato. This is poisonous. This guy, if you had to eat it, you could potentially die. But the fruit itself, you can cut it open, and if you do suffer from any hemorrhoid sort of problems, by rubbing the liquid of this or the fruiting pulp on the affected area, apparently soothes and can cleanse any issues that you might have there. So preparation H in the bush. Isn't that fantastic? So I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to throw it back overboard, and hopefully something else will eventually eat it. Certain animals do have the potential to still eat these plants. Although things are poisonous, some animals can still eat them because the fruits need to go in and the seeds need to be distributed somewhere along. James, a very good question. Any single monoecious species, meaning single species, single sex, so trees that only have one sex. Some people believe the marula to be a single sex tree. Stefan Winterboer disagrees with that. Very good. But I haven't found one yet. I haven't quite come across one, but then I'm still trying to get a handle, James, on the tree species. The boskia most certainly is not. Their flowers, when they come out, have got a beautiful smell. Not the fatida. We've got two boskias, two shepherd trees down in South Africa, that is, and the fatida, as the name fatida might mean to you, it's actually got a very stinky smell. It stinks. It smells like rotten feet, like gym socks feet that have been left in the cupboard for too long. But they are both boskia species that I know of are male and female on the plant, and the fruits being very, very edible, the flowers being edible, the leaves being edible, the bark being edible. What a fantastic tree. So I will keep my eye open, James, definitely, and see if we can find you any single sex plants. I'm actually going to be visiting one of the guides in Ngama. I believe he's quite a tree enthusiast, so we'll get a bit of time off, go and have a little walk around and see if he can identify a few trees for me. That'd be wonderful. There's not too much in the way of information for trees up in this part of the world, and I even spoke to Steph about it, and he spoke to a very knowledgeable guide of the area, and he said no one's going to want to see a tree up in the Mara, they just want to see the animals. But that for me is not right. I think we should know all the trees. Francesca, you want to know what happened to Medicinal Mondays? Well, this unfortunately is my poor attempt to continue it by doing a tree today, but I left all my pots and pans and all my information down south, and I'm trying to gather enough information of the trees up here in the Mara, and it's tricky. It is tricky because there's not too much information available, and then also the limits on baggage to be able to bring all of my equipment up here just would have, I mean, I've only got 15 kilograms I'm allowed to bring. It's a very small amount. So books and all of those references unfortunately had to stay behind. And I do enjoy doing the Medicinal Mondays on a walk, so you can sit down and present it all underneath a tree. Unfortunately up here that's just not possible. So Medicinal Mondays, to the extent of the depth that I was going into, will have to be going down into when I get back to Djuma on the 17th of December. I hope you can wait. I've got lots and lots of trees still lined up to do back down south, and ideally on bushwalks, because when you're on a vehicle, what happens? You find a leopard and you find lions, and oh, hello, there goes a black-shouldered kite. There we go, beautiful black-shouldered kite. Scott, you want to know why we don't see any juvenile acacia trees? Well, they're around. The problem is that small trees, saplings, just like micro herbs, microgreens, when you grow them, are very nutritious, very tasty, and they generally lack a lot of the tannin that the adults will have. And so if they grow up here in the landscape, they just get plucked very, very quickly. Where we are in this area is not a really high proportion of acacias. If we go further south a bit towards where we've been spending time with the sausage tree pride, there's a number of acacia species there. But with the number of browsers moving through the landscape here, any acacia that manages to germinate generally gets plucked and eaten. And if it does manage to survive a season or two, it generally will get burnt in the fire. But acacias generally very palatable, very tasty plants that herbivores will selectively go for. And that is why we don't find too many of them around. On walks down in Djuma, I would point out little babies many, many times, but with the huge herds of impala that move through there, any sapling, same as marulas, the knobthorn, which is an acacia, any of them that come through and they get to this height, well, they just get munched. That is the reality. That is the problem. And up here, if they don't get munched, as I said, the fire will get them. So you need to actually have a sustained period of lack of fire to allow all of these saplings to get all the way through again. Okay, well anyway, we're continuing on, and we go back down to Djuma, where the little chief is really giving us a show.
So Hosanna has just done drinking and now he's on his way to the quarantine area, and I'm just keep following and see what he is planning to do. He's full of surprises and he can see better than I do. So it looks like he is attracted by something somewhere here. So somewhere there behind that, behind these bushes here, he is now going down. I can see that he is interested in something, and I want to be sure what it is. Now he's just sitting there. Time for grooming again. He is now, his focus is somewhere by the quarantine. He's not looking very big this morning. So you can see that the food he was eating was digested very fast. Maybe there is a duiker or a scrubber here. Hosanna is just now heading towards 3 years. And Hosanna is so young compared to the size of Tingana. Tingana is just about 13 years. So if he's 3 years, he still has got a long way to go. So he is now maybe having approximately 10 years to grow and get to that size. So that will take him a lot of years, a lot of time. You can see how he is sitting there with the front legs raised up and the focus somewhere by the other side of the drainage. There's another little drainage here, and I think he's seeing something which is on the other side of the drainage. This beautiful cat in the wild Sharon, they can survive for 15 to 17 years. But you must remember that for a leopard to be seen growing to this size, he has been through a lot of difficulties. So leopards, they also grew up from the dens, and when they are young, they go through a vulnerable stage. So it means he survived a lot when he is an animal like this. the other predators such as wild dogs and the hyenas. They eat them if they find their dens. So I can see that now he is slowly moving to the other side of the little drainage. I'm just going to first wait a little bit and read his intention and carry on from there. So I always wait until he decides, because if there's something he's seeing, I don't want to disturb. So I get guided by his decisions. So now you can see he's getting camouflage. Where we are, because it's by the drainage, there is still some of the green trees. And this green trees is not because of the rain. These trees has been green all along because they are part of the evergreen trees. Is the guari bushes. So now let's go back to Tingana, who is posing on a little mountain. There's no mountains here. They are only having mountains built by the termites.
Well, he hasn't moved in the last while. He's still looking off to the west and listening. I still think he's probably gonna get moving at some point this morning. Cloud covers come in, it's nice and cool, and Tingana moves quite a bit during the day. Patricia is wondering who Tingana inherited his territory from. He didn't inherit it from anyone, he took it. He beat up and chased off another male leopard called Mvula. So male leopards don't inherit territory, only females do. Male leopards take territory from other males. So he is getting to that stage of life where he might be pushed off as well as he gets older, and a new leopard will come in and take his territory from him. He might be around for a little bit longer, but he is getting to an age where he's going to become vulnerable to other males putting pressure and taking over from him. Lisa is wondering whether Shidulu would search out Tingana as a mating partner. Almost certainly, Lisa. Depending on where she is when she comes into Estrus, but she would definitely look out for Tingana, Hukumuri, possibly even Quarantine, and whichever other male leopard might be close by. But so far, he's been listening quite intently to the west where those Impala alarm calls were earlier. He doesn't look like he's about to do anything about it. I'm quite content to laze on top his termite mound for the moment. Lexa is wondering, would a male leopard kill a female leopard in his territory? Not normally Lexa, but it does happen occasionally. And we're looking at a male leopard who killed a female leopard. Tingana killed a female called Shiluva to the north of us. Not exactly sure what happened. I think what happened is he was busy having quite a big territorial spat with another male leopard called Gajima, and Gajima was often in that area where Shiluva was, and Shiluva just sort of was in the wrong place, the wrong time, and Tingana killed her. So it does happen, but it is unusual. And Tingana, when he was younger, he was very well known as a cub killer. And we've seen how relaxed he was with Hosana and Shongile. But when he was first a territorial male, he's even been recorded eating his own cubs. So he was a well-known cub killer in his younger years, which is not uncommon for male leopards, and which is one of the reasons females will mate with all males surrounding their territory or they might come into contact with. So all those males think that they are the fathers of the cubs. But in Tingana's case, sometimes that didn't even matter. When he first moved in, he's thought to have eaten quite a few of Shadow's cubs, Tiani's cubs, and what was that other leopard name who died? Kwatile, when he first moved into this area. You can see even though his eyes are closed, his ears are still moving, he's still aware of his surroundings. Mobile Paddy is wondering, what is the most important part of territory, female foods or water? Well, water doesn't play any part in it. Leopards can be non-water dependent species. They can get enough moisture from the blood that they consume from their prey. But if there is water around, they will definitely drink. So territory is mostly to do with females, because if you have a high density of females, you have a high density of food. For example, the leopard territories here in the northern Sabi Sand are quite a lot bigger than they are around the Sand River and the Sabi River. There, your average female territory is under 500 hectares, which is about half of, a little bit smaller than half of Djuma. And your average male territory there is about 1,000 to 1,500 hectares, which is about the size of Djuma. However, here in the north, where you don't have permanent river systems, the territories are much bigger. Your average female leopard territory can be up to 1,500 hectares, and males anything from 2,500 to 4,000 hectares. So it all just depends on food availability is the most important thing, because if you've got a lot of food, you don't need a big territory. So along the Sand River, where there's lots of thickets, lots of inyala, lots of impala on the floodplain sections, your leopard territories are much smaller, so you have a much higher density of leopards than you do here, for example, in the north, where there isn't that ideal leopard territory. Well, it depends what you define as ideal leopard territory. If you want a lot of leopards, that's ideal leopard territory. But if you're just looking at, most places are ideal leopard territory, because leopards are incredibly adaptable, the most adaptable of all the big cats. He seems to have woken up. See anything behind us, Dave? Maybe a nyala or an impala? Let me have a quick look. And he's got a much better vantage point than what we do. So maybe he's seen something in the distance. But in the meantime, let's go see where the little chief is now.
So I can see that now Hosana is lying down there doing nothing. I saw what caught his attention earlier. There was a very big female nyala on the other side of the little drainage, moving much more towards the quarantine. And he was keep following that nyala, and then he decided to lie down. But where he's lying down, his focus is still there where the nyala was earlier on. So if you can check how he's sitting there, if you check the animals such as predators, all the predators you know, the arrangement of their eyes is right in the middle of their forehead on top. Reason for that is that when this animal is talking, he must have to lower the head. When the head is down, still the focus is there. So it means when the animal is standing on the other side, the predator's focus is going to start from the ground up. So when the focus is from the ground, he can still see what is happening. And that helps him in order to judge a distance before he chases the prey. So now let's quickly go to Steve, who's got a serval, something I haven't seen for a long time. A serval. Congratulations to Steve.
Hello everybody, look what we've spotted in the road just up ahead here. It's looking very relaxed. Beautiful serval. It's only, I think, the fourth time I've seen one up here, and normally they're quite skittish. Beautiful long ears, and that short stubby tail. This is a bird specialist. These guys stalk through the long grass, and any of the birds that jump up try and evade them. If you've ever seen a francolin or a spurfowl jumping, launching into the air, the serval, well, that's what they do. They launch up and catch them. And somehow that stubby tail enables them to do those short jumps. Obviously the tail's not designed like that of the cheetah, like a rudder for their speed and turning, or for the leopard for the balance up in the tree. And the serval is a slow, stealthy predator. Long legs, enabling it to see a little bit taller than its body shape would allow. There we go, he's hiding behind there. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. Super relaxed though. This is a perfect habitat and landscape for a serval. So very, very special. They catch all sorts of birds, rodents as well, that are nesting or hiding out in these long grass areas. Carol, as far as I'm aware, servals are primarily diurnal, or you could maybe even put them on the board of being crepuscular, which means active at dusk and dawn, similar to that of a caracal, sort of to avoid the competition of the larger predators, because if a lion or a leopard or whatever came across a serval, I've no doubt they would also try and dispatch it. It's a competition, even though servals aren't renowned for taking the same prey as lion and leopard do. Isn't that beautiful? See the shoulders? Walking with quite a nice gait there, but look at the size of the ears. The ears are obviously to hear better. They put their face towards some form of vegetation and listening for the rustling and fidgeting of any birds or rodents that might be. And they can jump up and then down as well onto something similar to that of what jackals will do. Jumping up and onto something that dogs are known for doing. There we go, let's have a look. Rachel, that's a great question. I actually have no idea, but thankfully I've got a book here that I can quickly have a look in to find out exactly how much a serval weighs. It is very cool to see a serval in the open. Serval 282 in my very nice book. You can hear some European bee-eaters around. It is very, very nice to see them. I don't think I've had a better sighting in my life before. Okay, so no more than 13 kilograms a serval, 60 centimeters at the shoulder. So between 8 and 13 kilograms, so about 26 pounds, 24 pounds at the most. So a very small cat. But very, very nice. Well, they are known for taking certain small antelope species, most likely small impala or small duiker. Small little individuals, I wouldn't see them taking anything bigger than that. Purely when you weigh that sort of amount, taking an animal twice your size is very difficult. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can sneak up onto this individual, but in the meantime, let's go back down to Juma, where Hosana is looking for some breakfast.
Hosana is right now in front of the Nyala, who is feeding few meters away from him. You can see how he is lying down there. He is right targeting a Nyala, which is now in the middle of a small thick bush. So anything can happen at the moment. The distance between him and the Nyala, I can say, is approximately 10 meters. So I can see that this Nyala is not yet aware of the presence of this predator, and now the Nyala is feeding facing the opposite direction, which might cause some problems here. So now I can see that the Nyala is now starting to disappear as he is in the middle. So I'm going to have to reposition now in order to see both. So in order for me to see both here, I'm going to have to reposition. Seems like it's going to be difficult for me to approach from here. I must have to go around. So I must have to go. So I'm just going to go around here so that I don't miss this action, because I can see that he is being very patient and the Nyala is still feeding, not seeing the cat who is just lying down there at the moment. So let's quickly go to the serval. So now
move forward. Well, we've managed to follow the serval, and it's taken us to a little surprise. There's at least one little youngster there. This is a first for me, folks. This is very special. The youngster's hiding in the long grass, just like the prey of the serval would do. And this is very special. I've never seen a baby serval in my life. Normally 2 to 3 are born at one time. A gestation period of between 65 and 75 days. It's just a little mini version. There we go, look at it. We're just going to move a little bit further forward, see if we can get another view of this. Okay, we're just moving up here. See if we can get another view. There we go. Oh, that's perfect. There's two. There are two youngsters. This is so cool. Wow. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. We have been bumbling through the open grasslands. We were following this very relaxed female serval, which is the one on the left, and she took us to a very special surprise. 2 baby serval hidden in the long grass. Look how beautiful they are. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. Please, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them below. I'd love to hear from you. The serval has got a gestation period of 65 to 75 days, which is pretty short, but for an animal of its size, it's about average, and anywhere between 2 and 3 kittens are born. And this is their habitat, the open grasslands, where it abounds with small birds and mammals, which the serval is a very good predator towards. Lots of ahs and oohs. This is very, very cool, very special, and to be able to see these cats so relaxed like this is absolutely spectacular. It's probably the best sighting I've... Oh, there they come. A little bit boisterous. They are active by day mainly, serval, to avoid competition from other predators. So it's possible that Mum has gone off for some drink or something and now has come to collect her kittens, and now they're going on a bit of a prowl. You see how well camouflaged they are, those beautiful spots. Disruptive camouflage, we call it, or coloration. If the serval stands still, there we go, we have a bit of a cleaning of the claws. For survival, servals will climb trees, and they need to keep their claws nice and sharp to do so. Ellen, I'm not 100% sure how big they are. They're about half the size of Mum at the moment, so I'm guessing they're within the 2 to 3 months sort of range, maybe 4 months of age. They're still quite little, but this is the first time I've ever come across a litter of serval, so very, very special. Very nice to be able to see them. A little bit of a scratching on the tree to keep those claws clean. They're not known for climbing, being in these open landscapes, but when the need arises, all cats can climb trees. There we go. Let's see the short, stubby tail. Yes, Leah, those ears are enormous. All the better for hearing. And they'll walk through very stealthily, and with those ears be able to hear the ferreting around in the long grass of any rodent, of any sort of bird species that might be there. And good morning, my name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Manu, and we are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Please send through your questions. As I said, we're going to just move up, see if we can get another look at this very relaxed family. I'm going to assume that is a female serval. There's really not too much difference between males and females. Maybe a slight difference in size. Kristen, that's a great question. Great question. All cats have some form of contact call. I've never heard a serval contact call before. Have I lost them, Manu? Oh, there they are. I've never heard them contact call before, but no doubt being part of the Felis genus, there's going to be some form of chirp or meow that is characteristic with most sort of small cats. We're just going to get up ahead of them here, and we might get a beautiful view of them coming around at this small little termite mound. How amazing is this? There we go, Manu. Kirsten, they'll probably stay with the mum for the good 5 to 6 months or so. I'm not 100% sure. It is the first time for me having a look, so I'm going to really need to do a little bit of reading on serval. But being a small to medium-sized cat, they generally reach maturity a little bit earlier than that of leopards. So I'd probably assume between 6 months to a year is sort of the period that they'll spend with mum, and then after that starting to become a little bit more dependent or independent on their own. Constantly learning out here. Candy, they don't actually den per se the way that hyena or wild dog would. Just similar to all cats, she would find a suitable sort of grassy area, maybe a sort of dense bush area, and that is essentially where they will den. There's no digging, no underground sort of burrowing, but just sort of a thicket somewhere with a bit of shrubbery, somewhere to sort of hide the youngsters away. Very camouflaged they are, so a predator moving through will just walk straight past them, and we didn't even know they were there until she walked towards them. Okay, yes. Aaron, they do look like miniature cheetahs. You can see the shape and size difference though. They're a little bit more sort of longer legged with a short stubby tail and the very big ears. They're known for pouncing The short tail is designed to assist some way of helping them jump up in the air and down again. They've got an enormous sort of spring ejection in their feet as they jump up. They're able to launch and to catch any bird that might be trying to escape, and obviously with their protractile claws they then can catch and latch onto whatever it is that they're going for. But very characteristic posture in their hunting. They do lots of these spectacular leaps and jumps, sort of launching up into there and then down onto whatever prey might be in the undergrowth. And those ears obviously facilitate a lot of that, being able to locate exactly what's going on, similar to that of a fox or even jackal. Jay, most certainly, all of the predators that are in the landscape are potentially dangerous to a serval. So lion, leopard, cheetah not being the most sort of aggressive predator on the landscape, but snakes, large raptors in the form of martial eagles, and even potentially other serval could potentially be a problem to the youngsters. But it's wonderful to see them out here. They're disappearing as they do, exactly what their camouflage is meant to do in this open area where you think they would just pop out. They've just vanished. So thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for your comments and questions. If you'd like to join us further, we are still live. Google us, follow us, SafariLive, and we'd like to see you a little bit more later. Have a beautiful morning, and we'll see you then. Goodbye. Okay, well done, folks. Thanks for joining us for that. We are going to see if we can get another view of these youngsters, and in the meantime, Sydney is with my favorite cat.
So the favorite cat, leopard, Hosanna, is now just very much relaxed at the moment, and he is still eyeing on the nyala, which is feeding at the moment somewhere in the thick bushes. And the problem now is the squirrels are trying to let everybody know that here there is a problem. You can hear them now, they are calling. You can see the nyala is right there. The nyala is comfortable feeding, but the squirrels are telling the nyala, be careful, be careful. The predator is there, but the nyala is not taking that into account. So this nyala is safe at the moment because where the nyala is, there is a lot of bushes around which are going to block this big cat from accessing that nyala. Costa Osana was by the drainage line, because there by the drainage line there was quite a lot of food available. There were two nyalas who died there by the drainage line, and I was following him when he was doing his hunting, and as he was doing hunting, he managed to come across the two dead nyalas and started feeding them. Those nyalas were big and they were all pregnant. He spent much of his time there because of the availability of food in the area. But apart from that, it is normal. Cats, when it's too hot, they do prefer to go and lie down in gullies and by the drainage lines. So you can see that he's right there. So they are on a distance now. I can say the nyala and the cat is about 70 meters distance apart from each other. And he's being very much patient. I am not seeing the chances of this nyala to win this battle. So he's just lying down flat. Kalina, the cats, they are not trustworthy, I can promise you. So they even try to catch birds when they are by the water holes. Oxpeckers don't take a chance. They know these cats will catch them. The only predator I have seen allowing birds to interact with them is the crocodile. It's a dangerous predator, but some other birds, such as the decock, you will see when the crocodile's mouth is open, they go and pick up some meat there. So they are the ones who are looking after the dentition of the crocodile. But here, they don't want anybody to come and look after the dentition, and they clean themselves. So his head is also now on the ground. I can hear the grey lorries have joined the squirrels. Now, squirrel is tired. They are also giving a warning call. So the leopards, they do eat birds a lot. I have seen a leopard catching a dove before. So that's why birds, they cannot come closer to these kind of dangerous predators. Charlotte, there is some lot of nyalas here, because if you can check the type of vegetation we have got, we are on a savanna bushveld. So there is different biomes here in South Africa, and it's quite a lot of them. This is what is called a savanna biome. A savanna biome is consisted of the grassy, which is suitable for the grazers to eat, and after the grass you will see the wood, which is not very high, which are the shrub. That is when they can term it shrubveld. And when it's higher than that, they call it a woodlands. And when it's higher than woodland, then it becomes a bushveld. So the sizes of the type of various diet are indicated. Grasses will be suitable for grazers, short trees will be suitable for browsers, and the woodland will be also suitable for the kudus who can access there, and the bushveld and woodland will also be accessible for the giraffes, which can be able to reach there. So the nyalas are here because the diet of the type of bush does support their survival. But it's not quite a lot. There is a balance between them and the vegetation and the predators in the area. So there is the grazing capacity, browsing capacity, and the stocking rate. Stocking rate is what is usually used to be called a carrying capacity. So there is a balance between the grazing and the browsing, as well as the stocking rate, which is the ecological carrying capacity. So when these leopards are taking down the nyalas, that is their role in order to maintain the browsing so that the vegetation does not suffer too much. So that is why it's not said to see a predator taking down a prey. It's for the benefit of the bush. Because if there's too much prey, if there's too much grazers or too much browsers, the bush is then that is going to get too much stressed, and animals are not going to have a lot of nutritious food, because when the food is stressed, it releases chemicals. Thank you very, very much, Rachel, for such a wonderful comment. You can see that the tail is not moving. Everything is very quiet there. So, but when it's interested, the tail is going to let us know first. It looks like a snake, that tail. It looks like a tiger snake. You can see the snake raising his head. Look at that. President Kumacho, this is quite a lovely tail. So the tail is very much important for the non-verbal communication. So which is something essential for these animals when they're hunting, because if they hunt and vocalize at the same time, predators are going to be wary, the prey animals are going to be wary, and chances of taking down or winning for that hunt, they are very much low. So now let's go back to the serval and the kittens. The serval and the kitten, I have never seen the serval kittens before.
Just repositioning very slightly, folks, and we had the mother move the two to another clump of grass where they were sitting down for a little bit, and now they've gotten up and it's time to move on to the next clump of grass. She was having what we think a little bit of the suckle in there. Youngsters being very boisterous and full of energy. Very nice to see. So there's no information in the book with regards to the age that the youngsters are pushed away. All that they talk about is that the males are pushed away as soon as they're able to catch food for themselves, whereas young females are tolerated a little bit longer. There's no age given at all. The serval known to be solitary and territorial. Very characteristic, similar sort of spraying tactics of most cats. Females and males both being, they like to meow like a typical cat, and they purr quite loudly, very, very loudly. I remember being at a rehabilitation centre years ago, and they had a serval there, and it was purring like so loudly. It's beautiful. David, you want to know how fast they can run? I have absolutely no idea. They're not built for speed. They're built for moving through this landscape and being able to jump and sort of catch rodents and birds. But speed-wise, probably faster than me. But I couldn't tell you how fast exactly. It's I don't think they really spend too much time running. So I'd say probably faster than a buffalo, but about 40 k's an hour. But it's not, their body structure and design is more for jumping and pouncing than for actual speed. But it's so special that we're able to witness. This is a first for you, Manu. Have you seen youngsters? Manu has been in the Mara for some time now. And this is his first time actually seeing youngsters. He said he was in this area not so long ago with James at night, and they got a serval with a spotlight and a couple small eyes. And they had an assumption that maybe there was a serval with babies, and well, here we have the fact. Because there's Mum, she's busy doing a bit of a stalk. You see how tall she can stand? A very long neck, long legs, tallest of the small cats. And there's a little youngster on the left learning how, oopsie, there we go. That's how fast they are. It's pretty quick. Very springy legs. Almost make me think of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. And how they're able to move like that. A little youngster, there we go. Fern, you love small cats. Well, I think I love all cats, but it's just so special to be able to spend time with a new type of cat. We don't see them down in Djuma, although they do occur there. I've had tracks, but to be able to spend some time with an adult and two youngsters that are completely relaxed is just so special. And maybe we will see them hunt. Maybe we will see her scratch something out. They actually, with those long legs, are also able to dig into holes and pull out mole rats, things that are hiding down, and have been known to take birds as large as flamingos, which is very, very interesting. No flamingos in this open area, but the range of the serval obviously moves into areas that flamingos frequent, and any small antelope species that might be hiding in the long grass is subject to being taken by a serval. Their sharp claws and obviously their teeth are able to dispatch any small antelope that they come across. But primarily rodents form the majority of their diet, and then small birds as well. Louise, who works in FC, has actually got an amazing photograph of a serval doing almost a backward somersault as it catches this small pigeon that flies across it. Incredible to see the agility and the flexibility of a cat to secure its dinner. Carol, I'm going to assume there must be. I'm going to move up and see if we can get a closer look. I'm assuming that the spots on the ears, the stripes on the ears, form exactly the same fashion of that of all other cats. Out here, the camouflage cats allows you to be able to see where they're going, and we were able to see them quite easily there with that contrasting white and black on the back of the ear. It's essentially follow me signals. Well, that's the theory anyway, in all of these environments where we got these animals with contrasting colors on their bottoms or ears. It's all about follow me. Because the serval lacks that long tail with the sort of white or black at the end that lions and cheetah. Oh, is that a caracal? Louise has corrected me. I thought she had a photo of a serval, but it was a caracal. Taking that bird out of the sky. Well, servals do something very similar. Both caracal and serval have got quite a short tail, and they're very good at jumping. See how short that tail is. So the follow me signal on a leopard is on the tail, that little white tip of the tail, and now the follow me signal is the white tips or the white bands on the back of the ears. Using a sense of smell to kind of get a sort of trajectory of where something might be hiding, and then the ears will come into play once it has an idea of the freshest sort of movement. Rodents can be quite localized in these areas, lots and lots of them. So grass rats, field mice, many species living in these grassy areas. See how it's moving those ears like radar dishes. Daniel, that's a very good question. I mean, I suppose that owls would be the nocturnal rodent specialist. When we saw that black-shouldered kite earlier, that is a diurnal rodent specialist. They're very good at catching mice and rodents, so I'd say there's huge competition between the serval and the black-shouldered kite in the daytime, owls being more of a nocturnal sort of predator. So definitely feeding on the same food resource but in a different time space. What's interesting is that the black-shouldered kite, they actually reckon, and kestrels are able to see with UV light in their eye spectrum. They're actually able to see the urine trails that these rodents leave, and you'll often find black-shouldered kite sort of hovering above the ground, not far away, and as soon as that rodent pops itself out, they just flop down on the ground and dinner is served. There we go. Are we going to see a hunt? Very long grass. It'll be very difficult to see it actually catch anything, but we might see a jump, we might see a pounce. I might need to move up a few meters if that's the case. So I was just saying to Manu, that's the benefit of taking just random roads. We were trying to get to the den site, hyena den site at the North Clan. I took a few detours and we ended up on the wrong road altogether. And, well, look at what we found. That is how it works. It's all about being in the right place at the right time, regardless of how you planned it. You see how camouflaged she is? She's left her youngsters on the other side of the road where we are here. She's probably told them, listen, youngsters, if you want to eat any mice this morning, you might want to stay there and let me do the work. Those ears are enormous. The kudu of the cat world. So when you look at an animal, you can tell a lot about it by its design, its shape. What does it use? Are the nostrils big or the ears big? And you can clearly see the ears are enormous. See how it's moving them independently of each other. You can probably hear something and trying to triangulate. Jean and the kittens are behind me somewhere. They disappeared into a thick bush just before we popped back out here, and she's quite happy for them to be there, I suppose. She's not looking too stressed. He's looking hungry, if anything. And with 2 hungry mouths to feed, she's going to be a busy mum. But there is plenty of food out here, it just has to be found. There we go. She goes behind another bush, as is the way. And the only bush anywhere nearby, and she pops behind it. Chris, we are indeed very, very lucky. Manu, I'm going to go back again, if that works for you. We are very lucky. There's just spotted cats everywhere this morning. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can get another visual of this beautiful cat, but the spots are everywhere, not just here, but also down in Djuma.
So you can see that now Hosana is now leaving his hunt, and he is now going towards the opposite direction. He just decided to leave the Nyala at the moment. So I am going to turn again so that we can have a good sighting. You can see he's going right behind me at the moment. So I can see that he's now going towards the little drainage at the moment. So I'm going to have to drive around to have a good sighting. As I can see, he's right there. Can you see him, Senzo? Yeah. He's right there. So you can see that he is... he's now right somewhere at the end of that, at the beginning of that dead tree there. Look at that. So I'm going to the other side now and see if we can have a good sighting from where he's going. Catherine, I didn't copy your comment very well. Catherine, Osana is looking for trouble. I can promise you the weather today is in full support of Osana. So that's why he is still traveling at the moment. He's also again interested on something. So he's interested on something again here at the moment. So there must be something on the drainage. I can see how he is walking there. So he's interested on something now. He's trying to hide. I can't see what is it, but I can see that something is somewhere here. You can see how he's going down there. Oh, it's the mongoose. There's mongoose that are coming towards his direction. I saw a little dove mongoose now. So I'm sure that is what is fascinating him at the moment. Oh, those mongoose got disappeared. Maybe they went into the hole. So maybe we might see him demonstrating his skills for catching the small animals. So you can see they don't mind the size, these very big animals. A dove mongoose to me is too small for Osana. So you can see that now he's not concentrating on that mongoose anymore. Maybe they've got a place to hide there. So the mongoose, the dwarf mongoose, they normally gregarious, but I just saw one there. So I can still hear these squirrels informing all the other animals about this cat, and sometimes he does look back and look up to look at those squirrels. He does get worried about them sometimes. So you can see that now it's not time to sleep. He's still going to walk. The chances of seeing him around here in the afternoon, they are very much low because this weather is overcast and I can see the rain is building. I didn't see the prediction, but I can promise you above the sky here things are happening. So now let's go to Tingana, who is sleeping.
Yes, and I don't think he's going to move in the near future, so I think we're going to maybe head off to the west where we heard those alarm calls a bit earlier. Maybe we'll get some luck with Shidulu, you never know. So we're going to leave Mr. Tingana sleeping atop his termite mound. Now I've got a riddle for you all. Now I said I had something special to show you this drive, and I do. And I want you to try to figure out what it is. And I'm going to give you maybe a line from a poem and see if you can figure out what I'm going to show you from that. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. There we go, that's your clue. What could I possibly be going to show you? Because of course, there are no tigers in Africa, or are there? Okay, we're going to leave Mr. T snoozing away. Let's find our way out of here. Looking very comfortable atop his termitaria. And while you ponder whether I'm going to be able to show you a tiger in Africa or not, let's go across to the animal that in Afrikaans is called a tiger bushcat.
Full, elegant, long neck of this female serval. She is moving from bush to bush, listening intently for the rustling, fidgeting sound of a rodent. As of yet, there hasn't been a pounce. Isn't she gorgeous? The kittens have hidden themselves. They have not come out again. They know that Mum is searching for dinner, or breakfast, should I say. We've seen Shidulu do exactly this behavior. Hosana do exactly this, move from bush to bush, trying to ferret out any scrub hares, any duiker, small franklin birds that might be sort of hiding away. No doubt the serval is doing something very similar. She's going to come behind the bush there, we believe. Wonderful. Well, I think I'm going to have to move up again. See if we can get her. She's just gone behind that bush. We don't want to miss any action if she pounces. So not so long ago, this plain that we are on now was absolutely littered with wildebeest. They're all at the south now, moving down towards the Serengeti. Oopsie, there goes a reedbuck. I wonder if she would have gone for that. That reedbuck was hiding. It's just sitting here in this little bush. Did you get it? No, you didn't, eh? A reedbuck just bolted out from cover. Now, if that was a baby, that's what the adult, that serval would probably catch. But that was an adult, probably a little bit too big. I saw her just over here. Chitty Chatty Meg, you want to know about cat claws? Sorry, must I go back, Manu? Perfect, eh? Okay, so cat claws, cheetah do not have what we call protractile claws. Now, it's important to understand the difference between retractable and protractile. Retractable is something that you physically pull back. Cats, all of the Felis and the Panthera genus have got what we call protractile claws, so the ability to extend them when put under pressure. If any of you have watched the movie X-Men, Wolverine is able to push out those talons or those his blades. He pushes them out. So cats, in the relaxed position, there's no claws. And in the tense position, when they want them, they push them out. But in the relaxed position, they're actually inside the feet. Cheetah, they don't have them. Well, they're not able to control them at all. And they've designed them more on the way of a dog, so as to be out for permanent traction. Obviously, for their ability to run quickly, they need studs, they need traction on the ground. And that's why cheetah claws are out all the time. But the dew claw, which is basically the thumb claw, that is always sharp, and that one does not get dug into the ground. That is what they use for catching an animal, gripping it on the hindquarters once they catch up to it. I hope that answers your question. She is definitely ferreting around all of these bushes, and you can just see the body size. How would you see a serval in this landscape if it didn't just pop out in front of you? Impossible. These little shrubs, these little bushes around the landscape are very important habitats for many, many species. I mean, the serval uses that for breeding. Lots of your ground nesting birds, lots of rodents, mongooses as well. Michael, I've never seen a serval down south, and I suppose this serval is just relaxed purely because of the area it's in. The road network nearby here is quite a busy one, so it probably sees a number of people in this area and a lot of vehicles, and it's just been habituated to it, really. Further south, the last three serval I've seen, well, they stood very still until we stopped and looked at them, and then they ran away in typical sort of non-relaxed fashion. I think it's all just got to do with intensity of an area. For example, we found some male lions the other day further south that weren't that relaxed to a vehicle, but that's because not many vehicles get all the way that far south in the Mara Triangle. Most of the vehicles spending a majority of the time a little bit further sort of east and north towards where the Mara River itself is within the triangle. So that's where the vehicles spend a lot of the time, and that's where animals get more sort of relaxed. So she's probably just sat and watched 1,000 cars drive past, and she's realized, well, they don't cause me any harm, don't cause me any danger. And it's just habituation, really. There we go. She's very busy, isn't she? So this is the most active time of the day. So the early morning, after surviving the coolness of the night. And look how they just disappear. Isn't that incredible? You can imagine how many serval there are in the Mara with this landscape. You just got to find them. Gone. Just like that. Okay, well, very good. I think we've had a fantastic time with this beautiful serval mom. We're going to move off shortly and see if we can pop our nose into the hyena den that we had planned on doing the whole time. Manu, don't you think? Just going to say hello to the North Clan. What do you guys think? Yeah? I haven't seen or said hello to the North Clan since being back. So the plan was to get there. This serval was really inconveniencing us and delaying us on our plans. It's okay, I'm quite happy with that. That's a lifer for me. Best serval sighting ever. I know Taylor had a lot of luck last year when she was up here. She found serval and fox. She found the jackals. So she was with the jackals and she had a lot of serval last year. Very, very nice to see. We are very, very honoured and privileged to be able to provide you with such images. Manu is beaming behind the camera there. He's got an enormous smile on his face. Okay, well, Brent spent a lot of time up here. I wonder what his serval sightings were like during his time.
So guys, we don't normally handle any animals, but this one came out of the bathroom, whoops, in the DRC while Jackie, the trainee, was sitting on the loo, and just take him a little bit further away. Just pick him up quickly. I don't want to disturb him too much. Oh, angry little guy. And it is one of my favorite snakes. So I've taken him quite far from camp. There we go. Now we can have a look at him nicely. Shame. I'm being very gentle. So you don't want to ever hold a snake too tight. But it's an eastern tiger snake. They are mildly venomous. Still enough to make you quite nauseous if he bites you. How's that, Dov? Here you go. Isn't he beautiful? But the reason I'm showing you and handling him is because I've taken him away from camp so he doesn't come into the bathrooms again. Hey, little guy. Isn't he gorgeous? Okay, he's starting to get loose and he's getting a bit close to my hand. So I'm just going to pop him on the ground over here. Let me just move away from him. Isn't that awesome, guys? How's that, Dave? Is that okay there? So, mostly nocturnal. You can see they've got quite a big square head, almost viper shaped, but not quite. I'm just going to grab my camera quickly before he disappears to get some photos of him. It's not often you get to photograph these snakes as well. Isn't that awesome? Very, very cool to be able to see an eastern tiger snake. Now, of course, there are tigers in Africa. There's a tigerfish. Eye level with the snakes. Okay, let's watch him. Now, he's not sure because he's been in audio back. Not sure because, of course, I've kept him in a little dark container. And we'll just watch, make sure he makes a safe escape over the open area into the thickets. Oh, well done, Lily, who's 7 years old, guessed that it was, in fact, the tiger snake. Well done. Very, very smart, Lily. So he's just not sure. That's why I'm keeping still at the moment. Here we go, starting to move now. Slowly, slowly. As I'll make sure he gets out into the thicket. Everyone's saying, such a pretty snake. Indeed, it is one of the more beautiful snakes we find. Now, I don't think Jackie thought it was very pretty while she was sitting on the loo, and it came out from between, well, not from the loo itself, but from behind the toilet. Isn't that awesome? So very, very awesome little eastern tiger snake. Don't get much bigger than that. As I say, we don't normally, if we'd found it out in the bush, we wouldn't have picked it up. Now, Gremlins General is asking about their diet. So like many other of the snakes of their size, they feed on lots of little things, geckos, birds, bats, and small rodents. So they are very, 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 very cool little snakes. Look at him sneaking off now. Actually sneaking closer to us, isn't he? Very, very cool. Now, we only get 3 tiger snakes in Africa, or in southern Africa, sorry. And this is the only one that occurs on the eastern side of southern Africa. The other 2 are desert dwellers in the in the Namib. Carol's wanting to know how to tell the sex of the snake with great difficulty. I can't. As far as I know, you actually have to sort of have a look inside, or feel on the inside. And I don't want to stress the poor snake out too much. Now, the thing that eats them, and the biggest danger to them, is actually other snakes. So cobras and mambas and stuff would eat a little tiger snake if they could. Lily, age 7, would like to know, how do you get treated for a snake bite if you don't even know what snake it is? Well, that's the difficult thing. It's one of the most important things if someone is bitten by a snake, and if the people are able to kill the snake, is you actually bring the snake with you so people can identify it. Where's he going? Still there. But if you don't know, you treat the symptoms, Lily. So if it's a mamba, basically your immune system, your nerve system starts shutting down, so they'd put you on artificial ventilation. Cobras, depends on the cobra, some have cytotoxic, some have neurotoxic, or hemotoxic, so you treat the symptoms if you don't know what snake bit you. Fortunately, a lot of snakes, when they bite people, will give dry bites. It means they don't really want to waste venom, because it takes a lot of energy to produce venom. So they will give a dry bite. It's sort of a warning, leave me alone, rather than wasting their venom. Now, the reason it's moving so slowly is because it's out in the open. And being a nocturnal snake, it probably feels a little bit threatened out in the open. Yeah, I think I'm going to go grab one more photo or two before it disappears into the thickets. Isn't it cute? Very cool snake. Very, very cool snake. Okay, well, I say goodbye to our little eastern tiger snake. We're going to send you all the way back up to Kenya to see where Steve's off to next in that wonderful wilderness area called the Masai Mara.
Well done, Brent. How awesome are the colors of a tiger snake? They are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Probably one of the prettiest snakes, I think. You've got a very similar sort of color to the coral snake, which is very, very, very venomous snake. But tiger snake's not so venomous. Give you a headache. Oh, but bumpy. Well, we are making our way slowly towards the North Clan, and along the way we've got some topi and a very, very happy looking warthog just on the left there. I don't know why I said he looked happy. It's because he very hard to be a warthog in this environment. The grass is always taller than you, and every time you move, the grass is in your eyes. And how do you avoid predators if you can't see? So he's hanging out with the topi. That's why he's happy, because he knows the topi have got very good eyesight, and ideally they would spot something long before he does, or she does. And then with the warthog, we've got a small family of impala with two little youngsters. Bearing in mind the impala don't have the same breeding rutting season we find down in South Africa. They're able to breed throughout the year. And these little youngsters, potentially, if they were secreted away in the grass by mum, would fall prey to the serval we were just with before. You see the difference in size goes to show that they were not born at the same time. Not the flooding of the market we find down in South Africa. It's just to do with climate. Climate plays a role in that. As you see in South Africa, the nyala are being smashed by the likes of Hosana and Tingana due to the dry season. Generally, most of them are still pregnant, looking to drop lambs soon, and the dry season surely takes its toll. But having a lamb during the dry season, very difficult for them to survive, because they're looking for milk, and mum needs to eat a lot more food to get in the nourishment. And warthog has decided he's going to follow the impala. You see how low to the ground he is. Even the baby impalas, that's a young female. Even the baby impalas have got a better view over the grass than the warthog does. Sedmark, that's a great question. I think there's the smaller animals are called foals, and the larger animal, I'm not sure. I actually don't know. I know that a buffalo is a calf. A giraffe has a calf or a foal. A zebra has a foal. I really don't know. It's not something I've really paid too much attention to. But we call this a lamb. Impala lamb. I suppose a lamb is related to sort of the sheep sort of area in the world. Cows being much bigger, we call them calves. But foals, I think, are sort of stuck with the horse side of things, if I'm not mistaken. And then antelope, certain sizes will have calves and certain sizes will have lambs. Generally all the larger ones being calves, but I do stand to be corrected in that regard. Piglets are with the warthog, that is for sure. All these terms. Well, that little youngster on the left is already feeding, already away from mum's milk, wherever mum might be. All assisting each other. Lots of eyes and ears. Beautiful little impalas. So any small acacia that would happen to grow in this area would be hammered by the impala. You can see them moving through, nibbling on not only the leaves of the bushes but also the fresh grasses that come through after the rains. Very selective impala, one of the most selective feeders that we have, and they will go for the best, the most succulent, the juiciest, the tastiest, the most nutrient rich, and generally small saplings and trees. They've got lots and lots of tastiness to them, and if they survive the onslaught of the mixed feeders and browsers, then they still have fire to contend with. very hard life being a tree in the Masai Mara. There's the boy. Enormous horns up here. Same species as the South African impala. But the horns do a lot to do with the diet up here. Lots of nutrients in the soil throughout the year. They don't go through a lean period here. Whereas down in South Africa they really are struggling now. The impala here are constantly feeding well. And they have the potential to migrate as well. So you find these sort of fixed groups really, with the males keeping the females for all the time, and they breed whenever need be. There's no set rut like we find down in South Africa. And the time is upon us down in South Africa. In fact, I'm sure in the next week or two we're going to have the impalas lambing. Linda, those horns are very, very special. Spectacular, in fact. He would definitely be the dominant male if you took him down to South Africa. There'd be no competition. Just so much bigger, so much more spread out. He's a little bit older. You see he's been worn down, the right horn. The tip is a little bit worn down, a little bit blunt. What are you looking at, boy? Some baboons on the open landscape there. You might be looking at them thinking, are you a lion? Some olive baboons off to the left, moving through, feeding on the juiciness that is available. There we go. They are enormous. And every single day at about 10 o'clock, the baboons have a bit of a riot in our camp, fighting each other, screams and shouts, very loud cacophony of baboon sounds. Constantly discipline taking place. You can see there's 3 big males there, moving through, feeding on insects, grass stalks, juicy ones, any seeds that might be available. Hand to mouth in the baboon world. With, I think that's some Thompson's gazelle in the background. Still lots of animals out on these open plains, even though the migration has moved a bit further south. Rachel, baboons scare you a little bit. Well, yeah, they should. They are. The big males are actually quite frightening, in fact. I've come to close quarters with 2 big male baboons in my life, and well, it scared the life out of me. One of them was at my university. We had a bit of a problem. The problem is people tend to feed baboons, and once a baboon learns they can get food from a house, then they become a problem, and they'll actually go in. A big male baboon. I was sitting in my room. I lived on campus. I lived in a small student house. I was sitting in my room, and I heard the rustling of packets in the kitchen. And there was no one home, and I walked through, and in the kitchen I saw a baboon, and I shouted at it, and it started running towards the door, and there was a second door that I could access to get to the main door. And as I got to that main door, an enormous male baboon was standing there, and he looked at me, and I froze in my spot. He looked at me, and he absolutely was terrified, of course, and he jumped through the glass window and out the other side. Didn't cut himself or anything, but I'm glad he moved away, and because I was cornered, he was almost cornered if it wasn't for the glass window, but it was inside the house, and that was a frightening experience. But they tended to come into our house and absolutely destroy the place, like students living in a digs having a huge party. Poo everywhere. But yeah, big male baboons, it's all about body language and posturing, and if they scare you, well, that's the objective. They're supposed to scare each other as well. They are a gang of males that look after the family. And if they're not scary, well, when the job does not work. Okay, so lovely little interlude with, oopsie, there's a big hole. Sorry, Manu. A big hole there. We should be coming across the North Clan den in the next little while. But seems like Brent is thoroughly enjoying his tiger snake and he's taking some photos.
Love that.
Well, I'm still just enjoying my time with this eastern tiger snake. It's just incredible to watch it move through the grass. And so special. But it hasn't quite figured out where to go yet, so I might just help it along a bit. So it's not out in the open when we leave. Come on, Sneaky. Let's go. This way. Good snake. Good snake. Come on, let's go. Let's move, little one. Here we go. Come on. Into the long grass. There we go. Now the snake eagles and things can't find you. Much better spot than out in that short grass. Here we go. It's gonna be calm now. Okay. That was fun. Let's go see what else we can find before the end of the morning safari. I have to return the kitchen's barbecue tongs. Okay. Caroline would like to know, if a snake bites you with its venom, will it die? No. It'll generally die from people killing it after it's bitten you, but using its venom is not going to die. Unlike a bee, so a lot of snakes use their venom constantly, all the time. And for example, something like a black mamba will not actually eat a dead mouse or frog or anything it finds. It actually has to catch them alive. So because once they inject that mouse or frog or whatever with the venom, part of the digestive process of those mambas has already started taking place. So the venom helps with the breakdown of the internal or the meat and the organs of that of its prey. So it cannot actually eat dead prey. Other snakes can, but a lot of your very venomous species, your cobras, mambas and stuff, actually need to inject their venom into their prey because it actually aids and starts the digestive process before they even start feeding. Okay. And pretty sure Mr. Tingana is still snoozing on top of his termite mound. And a quick look there. Hyena den still is not active. I can just see it through the trees. I wonder what wonders await. It's been a busy morning. Steve sounds like he had the most amazing deerboskat sighting. So, as I said, in Afrikaans, Davy and I are actually discussing about the Afrikaans names of certain animals and how they can be quite funny. Serval is one of them. It is a deerboskat, a tiger bush cat. Another one of my favorites is an estervark, an iron pig, which is a porcupine. And I think my all-time favorite there has to be the sable antelope. One of the most beautiful, elegant, majestic antelope in the world. And in Afrikaans, it's called a swart-wit pens, a black-white skin. And that is a... there's actually no words for it, is there? I mean, it's correct in its description. It's got black and it's got white on the belly. But, yes. What was the other one we were talking about, Dav? Vlakvark. Vlakvark. I'm not even quite sure where Vlakvark comes from there, which is a warthog, maybe a pig of the flats. Kudu is a kudu, so we don't have to worry about kudu. What else am I thinking about? Afrikaans names. Gebande meishond. a banded mouse dog, which is a banded mongoose. There's a young kudu. Not looking too bad considering the time of the year. Oof, there's a bit of rib showing. That's the browsers that are mostly affected. Hey, little kudu. Yeah, looking a bit skinny. Oh, got a bit of fright. Megan says her most favorite Afrikaans word is a pantoffel. That's a slipper. It's a slipper. And Jerry, pantoffel is a slipper. Why, Davy, is someone who's half Afrikaans? Any words on pantoffel? Where it comes from, what it means? No idea. Well, are you going to wear your pantoffels today? Is the question everyone's asking. It's a bit cold. I'm trying to think of other ones that might be a kameelpaard, a camel horse, which is a giraffe, a hunting lazy horse, a jachtluipaard, a cheetah, a hunting lazy horse, a leopard, a lazy horse. Although that's not quite true, that the luipaard comes from leopard, which not sure where leopard comes from. Leopard. I'll remember now, I just forgotten. But anyway, let's see if Stivovo knows any funny Afrikaans words for things that we consider to be mundane and normal. I hope he does.
Well, we've got an empty hyena den here at the moment. I think they're all hiding under the ground. So there's a number of funny Afrikaans words out there, but they're all very descriptive, really, a lot of the time. But one of the funniest ones, really, if you think about a jachtluipaard, which is a cheetah. And a jachtluipaard means a hunting leopard, but a hunting lazy horse, because a luipaard, which is a leopard, means a lazy horse. So a cheetah is a hunting lazy horse. That's one of the funniest ones. Well, the hyenas are not here. We thought we'd pop in and have a little look, see what's going on. But who knows? I mean, Jamie and Manu spent days looking at a piece of grass, waiting for a baby to pop out. Cars, how far into the ground does hyena dens go? I really don't know. It depends on the area and the soil type. Down in Djuma, the dens are different because the mounds actually raise out to the ground, but the soil is very deep there. The soil here is not that deep. It's also quite clay and waterlogged, so it'll probably go a few meters. It might even go less than that. It really depends on the area and the substrate. But in Djuma, they can be quite extensive, really, really large, long burrows going all the way down. So it has been a fantastic morning. We have been trying all morning to get to the hyena den site. The traffic has been terrible up in the Mara, with Serval just ruining the day by getting in our way and really slowing us down. But that's okay. We thoroughly enjoyed it. But down in Djuma, the cats were once again out on display. The father and son duo once again. Thanks to Brent and Sydney for their efforts. Thanks to FC. Thanks to all of you for your questions and comments. We'll be seeing you again this afternoon live for Safari Lives. Have a beautiful evening, good morning, and good day.